Welcome back. All right, so we're going to talk about the Florida Panthers as we wrap up the Atlantic Division in this year's season previews, meaning the Metro's coming up, meaning there's going to be some polls about where you guys think the teams are going to finish in the Metro Division going up once I'm done this video. So if we look at this team's track record from 2014 until now and you look at their top scorers, Alexander Barkov is unsurprisingly their top scorer. 683 games, 258 goals, 429 assists. 687 points, and I've become convinced that I could stand here and say Barkov is one of the greatest people ever to exist on planet Earth. I'd put him just below Gandhi. I swear there'd be Florida fans going, yeah, but Gandhi couldn't shut down McDavid the way that Barkov did in the finals, so he might be better than Gandhi. I swear that's where we're at. Jonathan Huberdeau, 554 games played for Florida, 175 goals, 379 assists, 554 points. So point per game, again, from 2014-15 until he left the team. Aaron Ekblad, 676 games, 115 goals, 232 assists, 347 points. Ekblad, I think that I regard Ekblad as being a pretty good defenseman, and I see a lot of people that kind of trash talk him. I'm not sure that I understand it, but either way, I like Ekblad. I think he's a good defenseman. Vinny Trocheck, 400 games, 106 goals, 168 assists, 274 points. Sam Reinhart, 242 games, 121 goals, 122 assists, 243 points. Carter Verhaeghe, 278 games, 118 goals, 118 assists, 236 points. Keith Yandel, 371 games, 30 goals, 201 assists, 231 points. Matthew Tkachuk, 159 games, 66 goals, 131 assists, 197 points. Tkachuk's been very productive. Evgeny Dodonov ends up on the list, 225 games, 81 goals, 101 assists, 182 points. And Nick Bjugstad rounds out the top 10, 307 games played, 70 goals, 82 assists, 152 points. Looking at goaltenders over that time period, Sergei Bobrovsky, a record of 141, 71, and 18. Roberto Luongo, 116, 80, and 31. James Reimer, 53, 42, and 16. Spencer Knight, 32, 17, and 6. And Chris Drieger, 21, 8, and 4. And he's back. So we'll see who ends up being the backup, but that's a topic we'll discuss in a bit here. Over the last 5 seasons, they've been 5th in the NHL with a 648 points percentage. Again, they won the President's Trophy in 2022, and they've been a top team since then. Goals for, they're 3rd in the NHL with a 3.52 goals per game average. Goals against, they're 12th with a 2.93 goals against average. And their power play, 8th in the NHL, 22.7%. Their penalty kill, 16th, a little right around average, 79.3%. This past year, pretty good season for them in all honesty. 671 points percentage. They were 4th overall in the NHL, and they charged in that second half of the season. Their goals for per game, 3.23 goals for per game, which is 11th. Goals against per game, the 2.41 goals against per game was tied with Winnipeg for the lowest goals against per game by any team in the NHL. Their power play, 23.5%. That's 8th overall. Their penalty kill was excellent this past season, 82.5%. That was good for 6th. So the Florida Panthers in pretty good shape, I would say, to at least make a run at repeating. We look at their top 10 scorers this past season. Sam Reinhart, 82 games, 57 goals, 37 assists, 94 points. I don't know that I see Sam getting 50 goals again, but he should be able to hit 40 to 45. Matthew Tkachuk should score more goals than he had this past season, so that should offset any drop by Reinhart. 80 games for Tkachuk, 26 goals, 62 assists, 88 points. He should be in the 35 to 40 goal range. Barkov, 73 games, 23 goals, 57 assists, 80 points. And if I said, I would put him just beneath Neil Armstrong, who was the first man to walk on the moon, people would say, yeah, but I don't know that Armstrong could have shut down Draisaitl in the final like that. And I don't know. Neil Armstrong wasn't much of a skater, so going to have to go with Barkov on that one. Verhaeghe, 78 games, 34 goals, 38 assists, 72 points. Sam Bennett, 69 games, 20 goals, 21 assists, 41 points. Gustav Forsling, 79 games, 10 goals, 29 assists, 39 points. Evan Rodriguez, 80 games, 12 goals, 27 assists, 39 points. Anton Lundell, 78 games played, 13 goals, 22 assists, 35 points. And I think Lundell should hit 20 goals this year. I think the offense for Lundell has been understated to this point, and I think he's going to at some point get into that 45, 50 point range and maybe even higher. Montour, 66 games, I should say, 8 goals, 25 assists, 33 points. He, of course, has gone to Seattle. Ekman Larson, 80 games, 9 goals, 23 assists, 32 points to round out the top 10. And he, of course, is now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your top 2 goaltenders this past season, Bobrovsky goes 36, 17, and 4, 915 save percentage, 6 shutouts. Stolarz, 16, 7, and 2 record, 925 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. Rookie watch, I went with a couple of wingers, Justin Sordiff as well as Mackie Samoskevich. We'll see whether or not these guys get a chance to show what they can do. Samoskevich probably in the lineup this year, but Sordiff's right there too. So Carter Verhaeghe, Sasha Barkov, Sam Reinhart, very likely to be that top line. I'm not making another Barkov joke here. I thought about it. So anyway, I'm like, no, I've already done it twice. It's a dead horse if I do it a third time. Which makes the 18-12 jokes, that's been going for a long time. But yeah, Verhaeghe, Barkov, Reinhart, really strong first line there. Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez. Keep in mind that if you want to make any changes to these top 2 lines, you can mix and match, and you're just fine. Florida has good depth too. Eetu Luostarinen, Anton Lundell, and again, I think Samoskevich may be on that third line. It might be Mackenzie Entwistle too. I think Entwistle's a decent pickup. I understand he had underwhelming numbers with Chicago, but he's a young player, and Florida's had some reclamation projects that have worked out pretty well. Look at Forsling. They also signed Jesper Boqvist and Thomas Nosek. So that fourth line should be pretty good at shutting things down. And then you got some extras, Tyson Jost, Rasmus Asplund, Zach Dalpe, AJ Greer, Yona Gadjevich, Will Lockwood, and there's Justin Sordiff right there. So a lot of depth in this organization, a lot of forwards that they can put in the lineup to change things up. So if you want a physical game, maybe put Greer, Gadjevich, and Lockwood all in the lineup. And things are going to get physical pretty quickly if you do that. So then we get to the blue line. Gustav Forsling, underrated defenseman, no more, I will say, because I think everybody's going to be keeping an eye on him this season. He wins the Stanley Cup. He helps with the shutdown game a lot, and he had a great plus-minus this past season. Aaron Ekblad, I've mentioned before, I think the criticism sometimes is warranted, sometimes not. Dmitry Kulikov, Niko Mikkola. And Mikkola is one that I thought when they signed that contract, I thought, they're going to regret that. That's too much money for Mikkola. But it worked out. So I'm not going to complain about anything, even in my head, this year. Nate Schmidt and Adam Boqvist likely to be that third pairing on the blue line, though you have some options here. You have Jacob Megna, Uvis Balinskis. Balinskis I thought looked good in his call-up. Tobias Bjornfot, who of course was a former first-round pick of the LA Kings. Matt Kierstead and Matt Benning are there as well. So there's a lot of depth, both up front and on the blue line, which makes sense for a defending Stanley Cup champion. These organizations usually have a lot of depth. And then as the contracts come up, players demand a little more money. Those Stanley Cup rings aren't free. And so, we'll see how Florida navigates things next summer and beyond. But honestly, I think they're in good shape. Like, I know people are going to point out at Montour and Ekman Larson being out, but I like the addition of Schmidt. I think adding Boqvist was a smart move too. Boqvist is a young defenseman. Should be fun to watch. In net, your top 2 goalies, likely Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. Chris Driedger comes over from Seattle. He played in Coachella Valley a majority of the season. Odds are Spencer Knight's the backup. You look how much money they're paying Spencer Knight. You've got to give him a shot at getting his backup job back. After a year of Anthony Stolarz giving them fantastic work, that 925 save percentage for Stolarz, he gets a contract worth $2.5 million in cap hit from Toronto. And we'll see how that does. But as I've said when I was talking about Toronto, and previous to that too, I think that contract could be a steal. Now, cap space, as I mentioned, since they're defending Stanley Cup champions, that's going to be an issue going forward. $766,666. So as long as Bill Zito is able to navigate the cap well enough, and if they don't lose a lot of talent over the next couple of years, Florida absolutely can win another Stanley Cup. So looking at the schedule, and there's some good parts here, and there's another part I want to talk about. So October 7 out of 11 are on the road. Now their opening night is on October the 8th. They raise the banner at home against Boston, and after that, 7 of the next 10 games are on the road. November, though, 10 out of 14 are at home. So that should even things up. But December has a rough start. 7 of the first 8 in December are on the road. So Florida's going to have to be a pretty good road team through about the middle of December in order to maintain a really strong record this coming season. February, they have 2 at home, 2 away, 1 at home. Then we have the Four Nations Cup, 1 at home, 1 away, 1 at home. So no prolonged road trips or homestands there. And in April, they have 4 games away, then they have 4 at home, and then they finish with a game in Tampa Bay to wrap up the regular season, and that's a back-to-back. They're at home, and then they're in Tampa the next night. So the 4-game homestand for the final 5 at home, we'll see how it turns out for them, but they might be playing for the division yet again. So the Stanley Cup odds, they're currently showed as second. They have a plus 1,000, which is interesting because when Vegas won their cup last year, their odds, I don't believe they were second. I think they were in the top 6. I don't think they were in the top 2, though. So Florida is still seen as a really strong team, and Edmonton's the favorite to win the cup next season. So we'll see if that happens, or I guess this season, right? Because we're almost up to October. But the channel vote, really optimistic. This might be the highest number I think we've seen of anybody for first or second. 86% say first or second in the division. 11% say third or fourth. 1% say fifth or sixth. And 2% say seventh or eighth. Those are people who just don't like Florida or voted wrong. 9,800 plus votes so far in that poll. And yeah, Florida, I do agree with the 86%. I think first or second in the division because I don't know that Boston's stronger. I don't know that Toronto's stronger. I don't know if Tampa is either. I don't think there's a team right now that I look at and say, well, clearly they should be ahead of Florida. So first or second, very likely. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts regarding the Florida Panthers, the offseason they've had, and the chance they have to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Do you think those odds are high, low? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.